Talking like a slave.
Hampton, we doing this tonight? Is this what we're
Yeah.
doing? Let's do it. Listen, I told you I'm ready for the smoke. What? Is that what we're doing? Because when I try to ask you a question directly, come on, bobblehead to the right, bobblehead, Trump bobblehead.
Don't
To
do
your
that, Gunny.
ancestral
I'm not gonna tell
homeland.
you
If
what
the
you look like.
Ghanaian get on your nerve, he go back to
Let me know
Ghana.
when y'all can
If the
see
Puerto
the
Rican
screen.
gets on your nerves, he go back to Puerto
We
Rico.
can see here.
And this is why they hate blacks in America so much, the white power structure. We're the only non-white people in the country who cannot be sent home.
Right.
You can't.
Hold on. This one?
I want to say this to us, though, because we try to act like the way sisters treat us doesn't have a history that we are not at least partly responsible for. Let's be honest. The black woman has had to hold down the black house by herself, although imperfectly. She's had to do it by herself since the mass incarceration of black males began in the 1970s. You understand me? Most of our children are raised by a single mother right now. And it has been that way for about 50 years. So when a sister says, I don't need a man, because she couldn't find one strong enough to hold her down. Or when you meet a woman and you say, sister, I'm strong enough to be your man. You ain't got to work or you ain't got to pay the bills or whatever. Pull back. I got you. And she can't do it because all the other men before you who disappointed her. So what I'm saying is, black men, we got to be patient with our women because we created that personality. We created that. And then we want to act like we didn't play a role.
We have to be held accountable for their poor selection.
No, you have to be held accountable. No, you have to be held accountable because they have a poor selection. See, what you're saying, you're selecting a poor mate. And what I'm saying is they don't have much to select one. So, of course, you're going to end up with a poor mate. And why is she going to end up with a poor mate? Because we as black men are not raising black boys to be the men that our women need. We are not. They out there killing themselves right now. What we doing about it? Unemployed black males. What we doing about it? Pants sagging, weed smoking. What we doing about it? Black men are not raising black boys to be the men our community needs. That is 100% our fault. What I'm saying is she got a right to be angry with us. She got a right to be angry with us. We have not been on our job as black men. If the men are the providers, what have we been providing for our community? I'm not speaking you individually.
Yes.
Because you may be a damn good father. You may be a damn good father. You may be a damn good father. But guess what? What are we doing for the community? What are we doing for the children who don't have a father? You don't think the black woman got a right to be angry when she's been raising 2/3 of the kids by herself for 50 years? And the minute she raised her voice, we say she's not humble enough. She had to become masculine to survive the rape, the molestation, the domestic abuse. Are you telling me you can't see how we created that?
I understand that, but she needs to be
we was
more
loving
selective.
our women and taking care of our women, do you think she would be like that? That personality has a history.
If she's picking Pookie and Ray Ray instead of
you're making her a scapegoat.
No, she's picking a scapegoat.
No.
There's good quality men that they ignore.
Why she even got it? Why is there even a Pookie in the selection?
You gotta ask her.
No. I'm gonna tell you why there's a Pookie in the selection.
What?
Because black men have abandoned black boys and have allowed social media, white media, athletes, and rappers to raise them. That's why she with Pookie. If she would not have a Pookie. If we're going to be men, the first thing we got to do is take responsibility for why our women feel the way they feel. I want to say this to us, though, because we try to act like the way sisters treat us doesn't have a history that we are not at least partly responsible.
There you go. Okay. Go ahead, Alex. You wanted to play it. Did you want to like address something specifically that we missed?
So in seeing the clip, that is what sparked me to have the conversation and ask, like, y'all are the leaders. What about this? Like, where do y'all as black men take accountability for the role that y'all play? Where do you all take accountability? And I think that's a conversation that never really happens. We're very quick to call black women angry. We make poor selections. We're too masculine. We don't know how to be in our feminine energy. But then it's just like, okay, where do the men come into play? What role do you all play? Why are we so angry? It's a better question. And what are you all doing to fix that?
Yeah.
I think that's always going to be as plain as what came first, the chicken or the egg. Or I think goes back to leadership. You know, when y'all are leaders, when you're leaders at your job, when you're trying to persuade your workers to work, follow you, that goes back to them trusting and believing in you. And if you feel like you have to, as you put in the Middle East, put their hands on her or demean her, that's not something that we're going to trust. I think I said this before, men got to understand that just like your employees at your job, they have to trust you to follow you to do the work. That's the same way as your wife. We have to trust you. We have to know that you're going to protect us. We have to know that. That's anybody that follows anybody. Even Jim Jones had all those people follow him because they felt that he was going to save them. So you do have to have that concept of we have to trust you. And so in a sense, Hamp, it is, I shouldn't say proving yourself, and we should not have attitude. I agree with you. Those single women that have that, and I see those little kids, those little girls, they get that from their mothers. But I think in an entirety, for us to follow you blindly, we have to be able to trust you. And in some sense, you're going to have to show that before that happens.
Yeah, I think, bro. So the only thing I think that's slightly flawed, my bad. I think Mary's about to say something. I feel like at work though, you can take something away from them that they need, and there's an assumed level of leadership. I feel like that's one of the main points that I made is like black women don't even assume that we're the leaders, but at work, when I get a new market, they know that I'm in charge. So like I'm taking over Texas. When I get down there, I can say things. It's gonna happen. I don't need to show them I'm the strongest person. I can lift up boxes. You know what I'm saying? So,
but Hamp, you're already in that role. You're in that management role, so they know.
But they don't know me though.
But they don't have to. They don't have to know you personally. So when you're in an interview, and I tell people, ask their manager, "What's your mission? What's the objective? How's the environment?" That's different. But I know my manager is my manager, regardless.
Yes, regardless. Right. And I think that's the fundamental difference though.
Right. But in a husband and wife role, if you are opening doors for her and you're listening to her emotions and listening to her and being attentive to her, we talked about love languages, giving her what she needs, how she takes it in, I think that she will be able to give you that where she trusts you enough to say, I can follow what he does and what he says, if that makes sense.
I understand.
So I want to make it.
Read the super chat for me, Gunny.
Yeah, one pill, $10 super chat. Why are all men responsible for Pookie and Ray Ray? They are a minority of the community. I definitely
want most effective in the community. They're most effective in the community. They might be little, but they're the most effective. That's why.
Okay, so if I'm a CEO of a company and I have a supervisor, let's say the supervisor is my wife, and I have employees. The employees are my children. My children are going out, my employees are going out and they're doing the wrong thing. And I'm seeing this as the supervisor, and I go to, as the CEO, and I go to the supervisor and I say, hey, we need to do this, 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 or this. The supervisor has a choice to make. If she respects me, she will follow my lead and she will dictate what the employees do. If she doesn't respect my lead, then she will take over and run the company. That's what's been going on in our community. It doesn't excuse the fact that we are supposed to be the CEOs of this organization, whether we like it or not. But our supervisors have been running it. Have they been doing the best job? The statistics say no, they have not. But the ultimate responsibility is on the CEO. Whether we assume the position or not, that's who we are as men. And we are ultimately responsible for this business that is supposed to run this way. And I think that's what Dr. Umar was saying.
I kind of agree, but I also think that women we don't understand order. A lot of women don't understand order. And because we don't understand order, that's why you have the supervisors that's trying to lead. like with the example that Ham gave of his job, that you come in, you already know you got to fall in line. I'm the boss. You got to listen. In these households, that's not what it is. There's no assumed. Right. There's no assumed leader. There's no assumed role.
And Aisha, I would ask you: is it because the CEO doesn't act like the CEO to the supervisor? Like the supervisor isn't able to see that the CEO is he doesn't know his position,
or the supervisor's been operating as a CEO for too long.
Okay,
and that's their position.
I agree with that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Any finals on this one? Oh, Mary, go ahead. I think Mary was trying to go ahead. My bad, Q. I thought I didn't know if it was you or Mary trying to talk before.
But yeah, like the whole situation in general, like I said, is like referencing like what came first, the chicken or the egg, because at this point it's like, yeah, men are supposed to lead, but how many times have we rejected men from leading because we don't trust them, and it's not even them that we don't trust, it's somebody else. You get what I'm saying? So at what point do we even hold our own selves accountable for understanding, like, okay, why are we projecting this on somebody that's actually trying to lead? So I get the aspect of, yes, men are supposed to lead, but them being rejected is gonna make them want to be like, you know what, I don't want to deal with this shit. I move on to somebody else or move on to something else. I feel like a lot of that is why men are single in general, is because they're trying to be leaders, but women nowadays are not allowing them to be that, whether it be out of fear, whether it be out of trauma, whether it be, anything in regards to that, is just not trusting that they can lead properly. Especially being based on who they could have been raised by or where they come from on their end, you just really don't know. So you can't really put the blame. I wouldn't put the blame on men or women. It's always just gonna be, who the fuck knows?
Go ahead, Q. Final thought on this one.
Yeah, to piggyback off of what Mary was saying, and I don't know that I'm necessarily agreeing with you, but you just mentioned like to blame. I think that we have to step away from blame and fault and focus more on accountability and responsibility. And with that being said, something that Dr. Umar was mentioning was the history that women have with Black men. A lot of times trauma. So to Hamp's point about these women who don't have the single mom story, but yet they have this masculine energy or they have this type of attitude. A lot of times trauma can be the reason for that. And he was speaking about like the history. So if you have all these repeated events that happen, you can't help but to have those trust issues with the Black man if most of your trauma starts with the Black man. So, I mean, I'm not trying to put y'all down or anything, but I definitely understood a little bit more of what he was saying. I get where you're trying to go with it, him, and making the woman accountable or equally as accountable, but that would be a contradiction to y'all saying that women and men are not equal. So I agree with Dr. Umar with regards to this particular topic.
Interesting. Like, share, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. Hit that like button right now if you can. That helps the channel the most.